All right, what's up? How we doing? Let's get this show on the road. All right. I'm Steve. I'm going to be walking you through this Digible Core Web Vitals presentation. So thank you for joining. I hope we're all excited. Let's give a bunch of cheers and yells. Just kidding, I cannot hear you. So if you're just doing that at home, you're embarrassing yourself, whatever. All right, cool. So yeah, let's get started here. Thank you all for coming. Get started. This is actually, I think, Digible's first official ever webinar. So we're pretty excited to be here. I'm Steve. I'm part of the SEO team. And I'm joined here with Bailey, Kristen, and Tammy, who are what we think is kind of the core of our team. We do have some other members on our team, but we keep them locked up in the basement most of the time, and we only feed them once in a while. So these are the people that we let out on the SEO team that we'll let you hear. Let's let you see in front of camera here. All right, cool. So let's get started. So why are we here? So everybody watching, I just want you to ask yourself for a second, like, why are you here? When we sent out the invite, why did you enroll? Why are you here? Okay, and it's only fair that I answer for us as Digible. So the reason we are here is because this stuff really affects our job, the stuff that we do day to day. So it really affects our job, but we have no control over it. So essentially, the reason we invited you all here is to use you. So that may not be very exciting hearing, but we wanna use you to pass off these messages about Core Web Vitals and how it affects our job and how it affects really your marketing efforts as a whole. So whether you're talking about paid media spend or organic spend, like with SEO, this stuff all really helps you and it really affects you, and affects your bottom line. So the reason we're here and teaching about this stuff is because it's stuff that we deeply care about and is very ingrained in our job, but we typically can't really control this. The only people that can control this are your web developers, the people that actually control your website. So we need to use you, the multifamily marketer, as sort of a liaison, as a middleman, middlewoman, to pass off this information for us. So now that we've thought about why you all are here, I would imagine it's probably broken down into 4 categories. And those 4 categories are: 1, you are sick of hearing about Core Web Vitals and you want to know what all the fuss is about, right? So anywhere in internet circles, you just hear Core Web Vitals over and over and over again. And I think we're all sick of hearing about it by now. So you're probably one of those people. If you're not one of them, then you tried understanding Core Web Vitals, but you still don't. So this happened to us probably the first 150 times we tried to understand it. Yeah, it takes a while. And so maybe you've tried understanding Core Web Vitals, but you still don't really understand it. And hopefully we will solve that by the end of the day here. Number 3, so my boss made me sign up, and fingers crossed this is being recorded. So these are the people here that they need to be on the Zoom, but we know you're out walking your dog during this. So don't worry, it will be recorded and shared with you afterward. So, and then 4, we're gonna probably lose about half the signups here, but you thought this was a timeshare presentation for Del Boca Vista. Good old Seinfeld reference right there for you. So anybody gets that. But yeah, so reason we're here is really, we all want to understand what Core Web Vitals is about. Cool. So actually, let's do a quick poll while everybody's here. So Bailey, can you hook me up with a poll, a first polling question? And we'll just give you guys about 60 seconds to answer this. But please, somebody answer this on how well you currently understand Core Web Vitals. We'll wait for those numbers to roll in here. Also, while these numbers are rolling in, I want to give a quick shout out. We have a special guest joining us today, and that is my wife. Hello, honey. So just so you know, if I bomb this completely, and you know, normally I just get to go home and I wouldn't have to worry about it, but now I have to go home and I'll hear about it for at least a week or so if I completely bomb this and all my jokes fail. So just have comfort in knowing that if this goes really poorly, I will get punished for it. So cool. All right, how are we doing on those results? Coming in. Okay, so let's see this right here. So about a third of you don't understand it one bit. then we get into over half knows a little bit about it, but still don't fully get it. And then we'll say only 10% feels comfortable talking about core web vitals with a third party. And I just would love to know who those people are, because you should really be up here doing this webinar. But maybe we'll talk after. I don't know. So cool. So we can say that the first two answers, over 50% of you, actually over 60% of you, don't really understand or get this at all. So hopefully we're going to change these numbers by the end. Cool. All right. Sweet. Moving on. So which is it? Is it core web vitals or page experience? So some of you may have heard these terms, but core web vitals and page experience is a little bit different, and we're going to get into exactly what that means. Here we visually represent this by these two yelling at each other, and this red man here who looks like he spends a lot of time at happy hour. I don't know, whatever. All right. So core web vitals versus page experience. So page experience is the actual name of the update. Okay, so we keep hearing about core web vitals over and over and over again, but really page experience is the name of the update. And core web vitals only make up part of that page experience update. This is important because moving forward, I would love to start referring to this a little bit more as page experience, because it describes what we're trying to accomplish here a little bit more. And that is, we want people to have a good experience on your web page, right? When they land there and go there, the better the experience they have, the better the results you're going to get. You're going to get more conversions. You're going to get more contacts. You're going to get happier users if we really focus on page experience. So core web vitals is only part of this bigger page experience, okay? But we only hear about core web vitals, one, because it's brand new. So this is a new metric that Google rolled out. So everyone's trying to like freak out and figure out what exactly it does mean. And also it's like it's kind of a cool, edgy name, right? Core web vitals. So people just like saying that. It's kind of buzzwordy. So people just probably like dropping that in conversations a little bit more, right? So core web vitals is just a part of the whole page experience update. All right, and then just to be clear, so everybody's on the same page, core web vitals are definitely by far the most confusing part of this update. So that is probably why they do get a little bit more attention than calling it page experience. Cool. So cool, bro. What is the page experience then? Now you've sold us all on this page experience versus core web vitals. What exactly is it? All right. So page experience is now an important ranking signal. Google is telling us that if there are two websites that are ultimately equal and one gives a better page experience for its visitors, Google is telling us that better experience is in fact going to rank higher. So they're very clear about this. They're saying this is what we want you to do, and we're going to use it as a ranking signal. So you guys better get your stuff together. All right. So page experience is made of three main parts. And these main parts are core web vitals, as we said, UX and security. UX is user experience. I'm sure most of you know that, but just in case not. Core web vitals, UX and security, and page speed is our third, okay? So you get a nice, pretty little chart here showing that for you. So we have page speed. So to confuse you even more, right, we've made this pretty little donut here. We have page speed as one, UX and security is the next, and then this is core web vitals in here. And so, of course, we have to make it even more confusing. And there are three parts to core web vitals. So as far as page experience goes, three main parts here. And then of core web vitals itself has three main parts. So super fun to try to figure all out here, right? All right, so why do we care? Why do we care about core web vitals? And hopefully we'll figure that out here. So I'm gonna do this by a little story to start. So we'll call it core keg vitals, and this will make sense in a little bit, okay? So this was about 3 or 4 years ago, actually probably longer than that now that I think about it. We'll say 6 or 7 years ago even. So before page experience came along, before core web vitals, before any of this stuff. I was doing some freelance website building at the time. And I had a buddy who came along and he was not willing to pay me anything. Thanks, dude. But he was a great realtor, right? He was a great realtor, and he came to me and he's like, listen, man, he's like, my website is struggling, or my business is struggling. I'm sorry, my business is struggling. I think it has a lot to do with my website. I can't figure anything out. I'm not getting customers on it. I'm getting worried that the lights aren't gonna stay on for very long. And he's like, can you please donate some time to work on my website? And I'm like, dude, I got a lot of stuff going on. I got paying customers, but sure, I'll give you, I'll give you an hour or two just to kind of figure out what's going on with your site. And so while we're sitting there, we're sitting at happy hour together, and I said, pull up your site for me, all right? Let me see it. And so he pulls out his phone and he goes to his website, right? And it starts loading, and he's sitting there and he's like, and then a pop-up rolls on, and he's like, what? And he's trying to click out of it, doesn't do anything. And then finally clicks out of it, but the banner is halfway loaded. So then he just automatically refreshes it again. And then the thing kind of locks up, and he just like throws his phone down. He's like, whatever, right? Whatever, we'll get back to it. And then so I'm just looking at him like, are you kidding me? Like, you as the business owner just tried to access your own website and got frustrated, set it down and said, I'm coming back to this later, all right? So imagine as a user what that does to you, right? Like, we live in an ADD society where people want things now. And so people, they're gonna leave your website as well too, right? So essentially what I did though is I was like, okay, I can kind of fix this up pretty quickly. And then so all I did is I went in there and I drastically reduced his image sizes. I took some scripts that were loading that were unnecessary. I minified his script. These are all terms that you don't need to know. But essentially, I just really sped up his site and got rid of the unnecessary fluff and scripts that were loading. And then, I just did that for him and I said, I think this should help. And then I didn't hear from him for about 3 months or so. And then I just got a ring on my doorbell, and it was, I think, a Monday. So this is probably one of the worst / best gifts I've ever received. But it was like a Monday afternoon, and I opened the door and there was a keg on my doorstep with a note that said, thank you so much. This has really improved my business. I've got a lot more leads coming in, ton more conversions. And he was just thrilled, and he saw a future moving forward with his business. And the only thing that I did was sped up his website and made it a little more user-friendly to the users. And so, yeah, then long story short, I don't know, we had to throw the keg in the shower, I think, and ice it up for the rest of the week there. But pretty interesting gift, and I wouldn't recommend just giving random people kegs as a gift, but whatever. He was very grateful that worked out. So essentially what I did though is I improved his core web vitals before this was ever a term, and it greatly improved his business as a whole. So anyway, why do we care? Moving on. Because Google says so, right? Because Google says, we want you guys to care about this. We want you to take pride in your website, and we want you to make sure that everybody that visits your website has an actual good experience, and they stay on your site and they get the questions answered that they came there for. And so what I mean by that, like in the multifamily, is they want to know if you have availability for a 2-bedroom apartment, or they want to know if your if your apartment complex is smoke-free or, has a dog park. So people come to look and get their questions answered. And if they have a terrible experience and they can't find these answers and things don't load, guess what? They're out of there and they're going to go to another website that is going to give them a better experience. So Google says this stuff is very important, and I think we agree here. So it's not another reason we care is it's not just about rankings and SEO. Okay, so it's very much tied to rankings and SEO. They say it's a rankings factor. It will affect where you end up in search and your visibility. But really, a lot of this stuff is about your bottom line and conversion. If you improve all these things, if you play along with what Google's telling you to do and you play along, you're going to convert at a higher rate the users that you already have. So all things considered, if you have the same amount of people coming in every month and you have for months and months and months, if you improve these metrics and you still don't get an influx and more visitors, which you very well could, but even if you don't, those visitors that you do have are going to be a lot more valuable to you. And so it is going to impact your bottom line. They're going to fill out more forms. They're going to call you more. They're going to apply for more leases, all because you improve these things and you improve the experience of the page. Okay, and then finally, why do we care? So some of these stats. So this goes a little bit along with the story I told you guys a little bit ago. But this is based on a study where Deloitte, who's a massive company, they analyzed, I think, 47 web pages, okay? And what they did is they went and increased the page speed by just 0.1 second. And so 0.1, 1/10 of a second. So they took data for 30 days on just average of how it was, and then they went and increased their page speed by just 1/10 of a second. And these websites were across different industries. They were retail, travel, luxury, and lead gen websites, which is kind of parallel to the multifamily industry. And just by doing that, their conversions grew by 9%. So 9% more people bought things or signed up for things. And their page views increased by 7.5%. And so that is a microscopic increase in page speed, something that we probably wouldn't even notice with like our brain, right? Our eyes may notice it, but our brain wouldn't even comprehend it. And just by doing that, conversions grew by almost 10% and page views increased by 7.5%. That stuff is crazy, all right? And so if you actually make good, big changes to your site, you're gonna increase it by a lot more than 1/10 of a second. And these numbers could grow astronomically, honestly, if you take this stuff seriously. So at the end of the recording, we'll definitely provide this link. It is a fascinating study. If you want to go check it out, but it will really help you further understand that Core Web Vitals is not simply about rankings and SEO. While it does impact it, it does impact your bottom line. It can get you more customers. It can push you over the edge, that final edge to get you completely leased up, all right? Cool, so let's dive in, all right? It's gonna hurt, okay? This is gonna hurt when we dive in here. See this little kid here, he's about to dive into this pool with no water, poor little guy here. But this is gonna be a lot to wrap your brains around, but we're gonna go over it a couple times. We'll make sure we give you some good summaries, and we have tried to dumb it down as much as possible to eliminate technical terms. So hopefully we accomplish that goal. And before we do this, I want to show you, first of all, the least appetizing donut in history. I think we would all agree that thing does not look very delicious. But a disclaimer. So those of you watching out there that are multifamily marketers, you may see your own website on here, but we've only used our clients. So, you know, we'll take the flack for that. But you are going to see some websites here that that are going to show examples of these different things, the LCP, the FID, and the CLS, and what they do poorly. We have made sure that these websites do these things poorly. And so also mobile sites, okay? What you're gonna see here is gonna be a representation of desktop, and you're gonna see the poor experience that users are having on desktop sites, but just know that typically desktop is gonna load so much faster than mobile sites. And the reason that's important to point out is because we know now that over 50% of all users are coming from mobile sites. So if we're having a poor experience on desktop, imagine what that's doing on mobile, and that's over 50% of all of your visitors. So that is a disclaimer that you may see some of your own properties on there, which yikes, nobody likes that, but we just got to show some examples and then know that these are desktop versions and that mobile sites are probably going to be way worse of a user experience. So now I'm going to introduce Bailey, who is, we like to call her a local SEO expert because she's probably the best at it here. We're all pretty well versed in lots of different talents, but I think she's our #1 local SEO person. So let's hear Bailey take it over, and she is gonna walk you through the largest Contentful paint LCP right here.
Awesome. Thank you, Steve, for that glorious introduction. Like he said, my name is Bailey, and I am one of the resident SEO specialists here at Digible. And I'll be going over the first aspect of Core Web Vitals, which is going to be the largest contentful paint. You can also refer to this as the loading time. And as you can see from Steve's glorious little graph here, as well as this, that you will have to learn even more acronyms on top of the million that you've already learned as a digital marketer. So buckle up. So what is largest contentful paint? It's a bunch of random words in my opinion when I first heard it. So the largest contentful paint is going to be the largest content element on your page and the loading time for that specific content element. So it's important to keep in the back of your mind that this is not looking at the entire page's loading time, but instead it's only looking at that specific piece of content. So the next great question, why is this important? Why should I care? Again, why am I here at this webinar? So this is important because, like Steve said, Google told us it was important. It's in their algorithm and we should really care about it. Another aspect of why this is important is because everyone knows that a slow website is just the death of all of us, because we need everything loading in like 2 seconds or even 0.2 seconds, as Steve pointed out. But it's important that we're creating a very fast and responsive website that users feel like they're having a good time on the website and they're not sitting there frustrated, hitting the refresh button and getting annoyed, and worst case scenario, just bouncing completely from the site. So the other thing that I wanted to hit on was the LCP score. So Google has graced us with a scoring card and metrics of what is a good LCP loading time, what is a LCP time that needs improvement, and what is an LCP that is performing horribly. So an LCP that is performing well is going to be anything that's under 2.5 seconds or less. And then anything between 2.5 and 4 seconds is going to be something that needs improvement. And then anything over 4 seconds is a big no-no. Get that addressed ASAP, sooner or later, so you don't fall in the rankings. So that was a lot of words. I know now you're like, what the heck does that even mean? So we are going to go ahead and show you guys an example of a client who has a largest contentful paint issue. So if you look at the screen, you can see that that lovely LCP is taking a hot second to load. So you can tell that the other aspects of the website, like the menu, the logo, and all of the content below it, loaded pretty much immediately, but that large contentful paint is going to be the offender in this scenario. So typically the biggest offenders that we see within our industry are going to be those gallery slideshows and those large images or a video. It also could be a huge chunk of text. So in this case here, we would reach out to the client and ask them to connect with their development team to make sure that they're optimizing the site's LCP to perform better and just perform quicker. So just to wrap up, the largest contentful paint is going to be that largest piece of content on your website and the load time for that. I go ahead and drop some questions too. I'm sure some of you probably already have questions, so we can hit those at the end. And I'm going to hand it over to Tammy, who's going to be talking about the first input delay. Thank you.
Thank you, Bailey. All right, how about now?
Good.
Good to go. All right, good. I'll go back. Let's talk about first input delay. So basically, first input delay is all about interactivity. And you're probably asking, what does that have to do with the website? What's that all about? So interactivity is when somebody comes on your site, they click a button, they click a link, they try to interact with the form. Maybe they're clicking through a slide share, trying to play a video, and nothing's working. It doesn't happen. It is not when somebody scrolls or zooms. That's not part of it, but just the actual interactive aspects that are coded into the site. That is part of interactivity. And the delay happens when, like I mentioned, those things actually aren't doing what they're supposed to do. That's considered having delay. Why is it important? Well, it's important because this is the first impression that somebody has on your website. When they get there, they're looking at the site, they want to know more about the property, they want to know, all about your floor plans, they want to know about your brand. And if there's things that aren't really rolling too well, they're going to get frustrated. They are going to have a bad experience on the site, and we definitely don't want that. We want your first experience on the site to be a good one for both the property, the brand, and the user. So some things that can help with that is having quick response time, that boosts confidence. So people, having a better experience on there will have higher confidence in the site and the brand. And then, like I said, slow will have frustrations and will be considered a bad user experience. Google's goal, as Steve had mentioned, is to serve up the best answer for any query given. And so the best websites, the best performing websites will be the ones that Google hits first. So our goal is we want to be the best website, the best answer to that question. And in order to do that, we want to meet Google's metrics here. All right. FID scores. So what are we looking at when Google is looking at our input delay? We have good, needs improvement, and poor. Good is measured in milliseconds. Actually, all of these are measured in milliseconds, but good is going to be under 100 milliseconds, and that's super fast, right? Needs improvement is between 100 and 300 milliseconds, and then poor is over 300 milliseconds. Poor are items that you would definitely want to send over to your developer to have a look at. Those needs improvements, those are items that could cause you problems, and you're going to look in your analytics, and if you're noticing trouble and noticing like a downturn in visits, we probably, if we're going to look at those needs improvement items, we might pick some of those out and say developer might want to look at those too. So basically, what is the developer going to look at? They're going to look at the things that are causing the input delay, and it's basically going to be large chunks of JavaScript and big images. So image galleries, image carousels, things like that, but just big images overall. Could also be, third-party widgets and such, but that's going to be part of the JavaScript factor. They're going to look at breaking up that code into smaller chunks, doing something called lazy loading. That's when you put smaller chunks of code into a bundle. This is far beyond me. This is something I've looked at. I don't know how to do this, but this is definitely what a developer would want to do. They're going to remove unused JavaScript. Anything that's not being used doesn't need to be on the site. They're going to want to remove unused CSS, which is your cascading style sheets, things that are telling the website how to look pretty. And then doing so with the easiest items and the items that are going to cause the biggest impact are what you want to look at first and tackle. All right, can you show me an example? Well, glad you asked. Of course we can. All right, and here we go. So in this example, you see things are loading awfully slow. Once it does load, we are going to start seeing a lot of items. The site has a lot to offer. It's got video, and it's got a video that repeats on the background. It's got lots of images. It's got a social feed at the bottom. It's got a form. It has a third-party widget. It's got a bunch. It's got a lot of things. And you're probably thinking, well, this is great. There are several ways that we can capture a lead here, and that is true. The problem is that there might be too much going on, and it's going to cause the user issues when they want to do something, like maybe they want to look at more pictures and they're not loading, or they want to fill out that form and it's just not opening. We never, ever, ever want to stop a lead from happening. We never want someone to not be able to call, not be able to fill out that form. So basically, that can be very, very bad. Our goal here would be to reduce the amount of heavy load items, like I had said, and that will create a better user experience. I think you did notice when it first loaded that there was a big timeout, and maybe you glitched back and forth. Like I noticed this when I was scrolling through the site earlier, that when I scrolled and something loaded, it would glitch back up. And then I would try to scroll down again and it would glitch back up to the last thing that loaded. So basically condensing these scripts will definitely help that out. And then maybe also ask yourself, do I need all of these items for a good user experience? Maybe there's one or two that we could do without. Maybe we can link to a video somewhere else on the homepage, have a static image that links over to a video gallery. Or maybe, our social media feed has a less in it. Like we definitely want to highlight social media. We want to maybe not load in 100 things. Maybe we want to load in 3, things like that. But basically the developers are going to be able to give us direction here and they will definitely know what to do. All right, next up we have Kristen, who is going to discuss CLS. And like Bailey said, if you have questions, please send them over.
Okay, hi, I'm Kristen. I'm an SEO analyst here at Digible, and today I'm going to be talking about cumulative layout shift which is also known as visual stability. So first things first, what is it? CLS looks at page stability and more specifically looks at the unexpected movement of web page elements. So images with undefined dimensions, third-party ads, widgets, and fonts are all common offenders of unexpected shifts. And why is it important? It's important to monitor CLS because bad page stability leads to a poor user experience. I'm sure we've all experienced the frustration of going to a website and trying to click on a button or a web link, and suddenly the whole page shifts and we end up clicking on something that we didn't originally intend to. These are the types of situations that Google is trying to minimize for users. CLS score. So what exactly qualifies as poor page stability? Well, Google actually uses two main metrics to calculate the score. The first metric looks at the amount of space that the element takes up from its or during page rendering and after page rendering. And the second metric looks at the distance the element has moved from its original position to its final position. We actually don't have to worry too much about the exact calculations, but it is important for us to understand these scores and understand what they're indicating to us about our sites. So Google considers a score below 0.1 to be good and above 0.25 to be poor. Anything in between is marked as needs improvement. I'll actually go ahead and show you an example so we can see CLS live in action. Okay, so as you can see here, there is a widget on the right that pops up and allows you to contact the property. And there's another widget on the left that pops up and allows you to chat with a resident. Widgets like these are largely popular in the multifamily industry where there is a push for engagement and lead acquisition. And while these widgets are great, we do need to be mindful about how they are affecting our site. So when you're looking here at the Catalyst Chicago site, you can see that the chat box on the right is actually blocking the resident portal button, and the chat box on the left is partially blocking the floor plans button. So you can actually speak to your developers about this because they should be able to code in some space for these widgets while they're loading as to not interfere with any other page elements and also avoid those unexpected shifts that we want within the page. Another industry that is known for having low CLS scores or poor CLS scores is the news industry. If you've been on any news site, you know that there's normally an abundance of third-party ads or videos that tend to maximize. So they can always interfere when you're trying to read an article and it just shifts the whole page a lot and it gets quite messy and frustrating. And just to reiterate, these are the types of situations that we are trying to avoid because we want to stop images from resizing and widgets from blocking buttons, and also just ads from popping up and shifting the page because once again, it does create that poor user experience and ultimately will negatively affect your CLS score. So now I'm going to turn it back over to Steve, who will be covering UX and security.
All right. Thank you, Kristen. All right, so now we're going to dive into UX and security a little bit. All right, so these are all very simple, straightforward talking points that I think we're all pretty familiar with. So give you a little bit of break on that intense stuff we just learned about. So these are the 4 things that you want to really focus on when it comes to UX and security. And this is what Google's telling us, all right? So we didn't just make this up. This is what Google really wants you to focus on. Mobile friendly. It is 2021, I think. I don't know. Might be 2020 still. Not really sure. But we need to have a mobile friendly website, okay? And the best way to understand if you actually have a mobile friendly website is to not just think that you have a mobile website. It's to pull out your phone as a multifamily marketer and navigate to your website on your phone and try to use it as a user, okay? That's how you're going to really know if it's mobile friendly or not. A lot of people don't ever do this. They'll get a website, they'll build it. They'll never actually go and test out their own website as a customer would. So make sure and demand from your web developers that you are mobile friendly, okay? Safe to browse, very self-explanatory. We don't want to have malware on our sites. We don't want to have phishing attacks, DDoS attacks, whatever coming from our sites. So just make sure it's safe. Most of the hosting is taken care of in this industry, so we don't typically have to worry about this too, but no brainer, safe to browse. HTTPS. So if you ever been to a website and it gives you that scary error warning that says proceed to safety, okay, and then you have to click advanced and then proceed anyway. So that is essentially your SSL certificate, and you don't really need to know that too much about what that means, except for it is essentially mandatory these days. If you don't have an HTTPS, which is an SSL certificate saying you have a secure website, then nobody's going to go to your website. So that is mandatory and should always be taken care of. And then finally, no intrusive interstitials, okay? I know that makes sense to just everybody. Just kidding. Of course it doesn't make sense. But what is an intrusive interstitial, all right? So you don't want to know, fam. You don't want to know multifam, I guess, right? You do not want to know what an intrusive interstitial is, I promise. You really don't want to know. Fine, it's pop-ups, all right? It is pop-ups. Google hates pop-ups, and they're telling us they're going to affect your rankings negatively, okay? And so the industry, as we know, we love pop-ups in multifamily. Right when you navigate to a site, right? It's like, bam, here you go. 7 months special, whatever. There we go. Okay, 7 months free, right? So it pops up instantly. So there are 3 examples I'm going to give you right here of like the 3 main offenders that Google tells us they don't want to see. And this first one is instantly triggered, right? So right when you get to a website, right, you just pull up your website and boom, you're hit with a pop-up, okay? What is the delay there? My apologies on that. But okay, so this is a pop-up example that just pops up right when you navigate to a website, right? The page hasn't even loaded yet. Then all of a sudden, bam, you're hit with like a special or something right in your face. You don't even know what the website is about yet. How are you supposed to convert and take offers of a website you don't even know about? Think of this in a clothing industry, right? Like you go to a website, a clothing website, and you don't even really know what they sell kind of clothes, but you get a pop-up offer of 20%. You're like, why do I care right now? Because I don't even know what kind of clothes you sell or whether I want to buy them yet. So that's one bad one, something that pops up instantly when you get on the site. We do see that often. The second one here, the pop-up isn't responsive or is impossible to close on mobile devices. We all know this, right? You're on a phone, you get a pop-up. I can't find the X. Where is the X? I have no idea how to get out of there. What are you going to do? You're going to leave, all right? And you work in digital marketing, right? You work in digital marketing and you have more patience with websites. Think about the Gen Pop, okay? We know how we feel about Gen Pop, all right? So they're going to be using this website. If they can't exit out of your pop-up, they are out of there. They are not coming back. I promise you that. And then finally, come on, there we go. The pop-up covers the main content on the website, all right? So this is, again, back to the user experience. These pop-ups will come and they'll cover everything you need to know about the website, and you don't even really know what kind of website you're on. So these are the 3 main offenders to look out for. Pop-ups are okay, right? They're okay. They just can't be intrusive. So they don't want to cover everything. We need to make them very small, or not necessarily very small, but just so there's more room behind you on the page. You can see the background. Just go for a more minimalist feel when it comes to pop-ups, okay? Who knew that was affecting your rankings, but it is. So page speed. Definitely do not make any effort to try to understand what these terms mean. Time to first byte, we don't really care. I'm just going to give you the gist of what they all are, all right? So basically, page speed comes into 4 main categories, and it's how long to say hello, basically how long till your browser and your website connect, okay? First, contentful paint. This is how long to see something on the page. So the first item that loads on your page is going to be this FCP, how long it takes for that to actually happen. Total blocking time. This is essentially the time the user was blocked for interacting. So this is kind of what we talked about with the FID when your site kind of locks up a little bit, right? That's what we're referring to here. And then finally, the time to interactive. This is the time to begin using your site, okay? So that's essentially when everything is loaded and the user is able to proceed and get the full experience of your site. I don't need you guys to all know that, but this is stuff that your developer will know and will understand. And when you run Core Web Vitals reports, you're going to get these metrics, and that it will kind of tell you where your page speed is. We want to see all greens, but typically we see all reds, especially in this industry, because I know that you have a lot of limitations based on what website provider you go with. So now let's take a quick mental health break. All right. So let's clear our brains for 1 second and understand that this stuff is worse than drinking orange juice after brushing your teeth, right? This is terrible stuff. It makes our head explode. Nobody wants to think about it, but it is our job as marketers to understand what exactly it is. So this stuff is worse than, I want to hear from you guys. Somebody tell me what this stuff is worse than. The best answer will win a Digible t-shirt. For real, we're going to pick the best answer and what Core Web Vitals is worse than. Drop it in the chat, please, and we will send you out a free Digible t-shirt in the mail. Cool? Somebody hook me up. While we are doing that, I'm going to give you guys about 60 seconds to give me answers on what Core Web Vitals is worse than. But I'm going to give a shameless Digible plug here, right? Because it is a webinar, and I think part of the rules for the webinar is you got to give yourself a little plug. So here we go. Save the date. The Digible Summit is coming on September 22nd. So that's about 2 months from now. But essentially, we're going to be having an awesome digital. It's going to be a virtual summit this year again, just to deal with COVID stuff. But we want you guys to be there. We're going to be focusing on fair housing. We have an amazing fair housing tool if you guys haven't seen it yet. We're going to be focusing on where technology is going in the industry. And then finally, we're going to be focusing on consumerization. So there's a lot of really forward-thinking ideas there, and we do expect you guys to take a lot out of that. So we would love to see you all and your whole teams really come join us for the Digital Summit, because we're going to have a lot of great ideas there. So another shameless Digital plug, the SEO team. We want to help your properties, all right? So we're not going to sit here and ask you to come sign up with us. We really don't care. We want to help you only if you want the help, all right? So these are things that we always look, or Core Web Vitals is an example of things that we care about, right? And things that we're always looking at and keeping the health of your site. So we're always looking for new clients. If you guys want to come join us, we'd love to, we'd love to teach you more about SEO and really help you get the most value out of your butt, because SEO is more than rankings. It is conversions. It is capturing the clients that you currently have, and it's driving new traffic as well. And then finally, be on the lookout. We may have some solutions here in the coming months for websites that solve these Core Web Vital problems. So we're definitely not announcing we have a product yet, but just know if you hear anything through the grapevine that Digible's launching websites, that means that we have solved these Core Web Vitals, and our websites will pass those. So be on the lookout for that in case that comes soon. So what is the, oh, I'm sorry. Let's go to the poll results. My bad, Bailey. We got anything funny? Anything good? Worthy of a t-shirt?
I have to say, Holly's is my favorite. Let me see. I just lost it. She said, worse than 5 p.m. conference calls on a Friday.
Oh, that is brutal, Holly.
That's a cardinal sin.
I think we have some guilty offenders here at Digible too. So you guys hear that if that relates to you. But that is awesome. Thank you, Holly. We'll be hooking it up with a Digible t-shirt. Okay, we only got about 10 minutes to go right here. So we're just going to wrap all this up. Okay, so what is the impact of the update? So the Googs is going to go after the worst offenders. All right, so Big Daddy G, the Googs, whatever you want to call it, I don't know. They're gonna find the worst offenders right now as they're doing this update. Okay, and those are going to be things like Kristen said, like news sites, right? Those terrible experiences, those websites we absolutely hate going to. Clickbait sites, you've accidentally ended up on a site and you have to click through to each image, right? Over, and it takes 1 million seconds to load each one, or like affiliate marketing, things that are trying to sell you something, you go on it, 18 different pop-ups come up, right? So that's really going to be the impact right now, is what Google's going to go after. They're going to take these worst offenders and they're going to really make their lives miserable. So we don't anticipate a big change in multifamily for now. Okay, so what we do anticipate though is that change will happen positively for those that play along. So right now, if you guys don't do anything, we don't think that, we don't think you're going to see a lot of negative impacts as this rolls out. But what is going to happen in the future, as we have competitors and all these different areas out there that do start taking this seriously, those are going to be the ones that blow us out of the water, right? Blow these websites out of the water that don't make these changes. So this doesn't have to happen right away necessarily, but maybe you have a new website build coming up in 2022. Ask your developers these questions. Do you care about this stuff? Are you in line? Are you getting positive scores on Core Web Vitals? Because that is going to affect you in the future moving forward. So really what we want to see is moving forward, start caring about these things. When you commission a website, ask your developer, ask your rep, whoever it is, do you care about these things? And can you show me the numbers, right? Can you run a page speed insights test and show me that your sites work? So what are you SEO mofos doing about it? That's a term I think we just invented today, but what are you SEO mofos? I don't know. Maybe that'll hit, maybe it won't. I don't know. So we are, I'll just pull up all the bullet points here. We are identifying opportunities for improvement, all right? So any sites in our portfolio, we're always going to be looking out as we work on these throughout the month. When we see really big offenders and stuff, we're going to alert you, okay? We're always going to identify opportunities for improvement. So if we notice that you have a widget that's covering all of your content, or you have a pop-up that you can't click out of, we're gonna let you know about this, all right? And we're gonna hope and give you solutions to get it fixed. Monitor and flag. So like I said, this kind of goes to the same point. We're always gonna be monitoring this stuff. We have alerts set up. So say we see a big rankings drop in one of our properties, that'll get flagged instantly, and we can go dive into this. And since we feel like we know a lot about Core Web Vitals at this point, we can kind of go and diagnose and see if that is kind of the issue that caused those rankings drops. We're going to be identifying trends in the industry. So if we notice that websites, all kinds of websites that have massive banner UX and security and page speed, okay? And then of those we have the three main parts to Core Web Vitals. The largest contentful paint, okay? And so focus on the word largest. This is the largest item on the page. Okay, that's all I need to know. It's the largest thing, the thing that's taking up the most resources. Second is first input delay. Focus on delay. This is the time it takes to become interactive when things are loading, but it's taking forever. That is that delay. And then finally, cumulative layout shift. Let's focus on shift here. We want to know, are items shifting and jumping all over the page, right? So as far as UX and security, make a good user experience, make it safe, and be careful with your pop-ups, okay? We don't want them to just take over everything. Use pop-ups with caution. Page speed, even a 0.1 second increase in page speed will pay you dividends a ton. And honestly, if we focus and make a lot of these changes, we're gonna see a lot bigger increase than that. All right, so what can I do with my learnings? Okay, start with research. I'm not gonna make you go visit this page, but Page Speed Insights is gonna be your friend. Go to Page Speed Insights, just Google that term, it's a Google product, pull it up, type in your website, and you can see all of these metrics and how your sites perform. So go start with that. Go see these metrics, see the red, right? You're always gonna get green, yellow, and red for all these different scores. Go look at your reds and focus on those. Okay, so find the problem areas and check out your scores. Then pinpoint the problem. Since you know what it is, if you're getting a largest contentful paint error, the largest, right? You know that you probably have something that's huge loading on your site. So you can go talk to your developer and be like, listen, I know something massive is slowing down my site. It might be a 600 kilobyte image or something like that. Just know that there is some problem in that area. And then finally, just go yell at Jeff Goldblum, AKA Brad Bellflower, because we are sick of seeing that guy on the apartments.com TV commercials. I know you all are too. Just kidding. Just go talk to your web developer about this stuff, all right? So just do your own research. Go look at your web page. Go understand your web page, because somebody has to, and somebody has to be a liaison to go talk to these web developers and tell them, this is not okay that we're getting such poor scores here. Cool. So the takeaways are, understand that your website could be costing you money. Less is more, okay? Less is always more. So just because you can have 85 widgets and 7 different pop-ups on your website doesn't mean you need to have 85 widgets and pop-ups on your website. Do an audit of them, find out things that are most important, and put those on your site, okay? Don't just put things there just to put them there, because that's what's gonna bog down these scripts and slow down your website and lead to bounces, okay? And that does affect your bottom line, right? If people aren't converting and leaving your site. Page experience is better than Core Web Vitals. I just mean the term, right? Page experience is a greater term to think about this than Core Web Vitals, because we probably still don't understand Core Web Vitals, but we should understand page experience a little bit more. Google is asking us to take websites seriously. So this is Google's plea to us. That's why it's such a big deal, and they're penalizing people, is because they're begging us, hey, We want you guys to take your website seriously if we're going to list them on our search results, right? If we're going to list you on our search engine results pages, we want you to take your website seriously because we want to provide users with a great experience. Another takeaway of this is we care about our renters, right? We do here as a third-party agency. We care about the end customer. We care about these renters. I know you as multifamily marketers, you care about your renters. You want them to have a good experience, right? So let's make a better experience for them. Let's care about them. Let's care how they use our websites. Let's care how they find us. Let's care when they have questions, right, that they want to ask. If you have a good experience on your website and it answers great questions, they don't have to call you anymore, right? They can easily navigate this stuff. So let's just show some empathy with our end customer, the renters, and make a better experience for them. And then finally, the most important thing still, don't make me say it, I don't want to say it, but the most important thing out of all of this that Google wants you to know relating to Core Web Vitals is that quality content is still the most important part of your site, right? So content is king, content is queen, might be better because that would be much, anyway, whatever. Anyway, so quality content is still the most important part of your site. Google has reaffirmed this. So even if all these things, all things considered, you've made everything better, all your paid scores are in the green. If you don't have good quality content on your website that actually answers users' questions and guides them in the right way, you're not going to do anything well. So take your Core Web Vitals seriously, and then also just take your content seriously on your pages. Cool. That is all we got for you. So we're going to end it with a classy little thing here. I would like to throw out one last quick little poll here. And I just want to see if anybody, if this has improved at all, okay? So we're going to ask the same question to you again. Please vote, and then we will get you out of here. All right, so I'm going to give you 60 seconds here to vote. If there's any questions in here, I know we're at time right now, but we'd love to answer a couple questions if anybody has them. Well, I think we ended the polling on accident here, but you don't have to vote again. But I do know that those results coming in, they were a lot more positive, getting the general concept of it and feeling comfortable talking about it with a third party. So that is wonderful to hear, and that's really what we came here to see. We got any solid questions here? All right. Okay, so some of the ways that we can improve like LCP, that's a great question. So that's the largest contentful paint. So some of the ways that we typically see that you can improve that are going to be compression and minimizing, right? So compress your images. A lot of times we'll have images that are like 400, 500 kilobytes that load, and these are taken from a phone. They just don't care about compression because they want high quality. But on the internet, we only view things at 72 DPI, and these pictures were taken at 300 DPI. And so we can compress those and not lose any resolution on a digital screen, and it's going to make everything load faster. So images is going to be probably the #1 way you can improve your LCP, which is the largest contentful paint. All right, I'm going to do one more question here, and then we'll get you all out of here. Recommendations on how to promote specials / CTA without using a pop-up. That is a wonderful question. So I use this tactic with some of my clients. I will actually just go replace right under the banner. So picture a website here, we got a banner. Instead of using a pop-up that comes over, you're gonna have a banner and then you're gonna have the title of your site typically right here. That's usually how it works. In between that title and this banner, maybe in like red lettering or branded a different color, something that's gonna catch the attention of your eye, just drop in a line of text, right? And maybe a red color that says 1 month free move-in special, something that lives on that homepage and is going to catch their eye right below that main banner, because that's really where people are going to look and focus their attention. There is a user behavior, and there's great studies on this too, that you will see that no matter what the pop-up says, a lot of people will pop up and they will just vigorously click out of it as fast as they possibly can and never even see what's on there. But if this if this special is hard coded onto your website right below that main banner, the eyes naturally go there. Our eyes have been trained to go to that area on a website. They're going to notice that and it's going to live there. And then also what's going to happen too is then they're going to go look at information in your website, right? They're going to go look at your floor plans, look at all these different things. Then they're going to make that decision that they want to move into your apartment complex, okay? If it was a pop-up, they're X'd out of this pop-up. They don't really know how to get back to that special. Like, how do I get back to that special? Where did that come from? I don't really know. But if it's hard-coded on your website on that home page, they're like, oh yeah, I saw it on the front page. They go back to your page, they see it is 1 month free, they're sold, they're ready to move in, they're good to go. So that is an example of how to get around using pop-ups for a special. And let's see, I love the results that came in out of this polling here. And I think that's about it. So thank you all for coming. This was the first Digible SEO webinar. I hope you guys learned something today. And I hope more importantly, it was enjoyable and you didn't feel like you wasted an hour of hanging out with us. So we will see you all soon. And hopefully we'll see you at the Digital Summit coming up soon on September 22nd. Take care, everybody.